Okay. The storyline we've been putting off, I don't have an alert that Rashee Rice is suspended for 8 weeks. So I guess we just have to do this. We have to do this and hope to God that nothing changes drastically after this conversation. But Dalton, I mean, we got to talk about the Chiefs receiver room at this point. I'm sure that's probably your storyline, right?
Yeah, I picked one because I figured we'd talk about all of them anyways. So
okay, like mine is just how in the world does this receiver room shake out? Like that's I think just the broad storyline. And do you have a guy who you're feeling good about, bad about? What's the situation here?
Well, my question was like, why didn't the fantasy community overreact to Xavier Worthy? Like, there's just been a really measured response to the Chiefs drafting the fastest player in NFL history, and that's probably because the number of offensive busts fantasy players have dealt with on this Chiefs offense, going way back to like Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle, CEH, Sky Moore, Noah Gray for some of us. But like, this is the best offensive personnel grouping Kansas City has had as far as a depth level goes. Like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and Travis Kelce are as close as you're coming to in the Mahomes era of a successful personnel grouping. And they add Xavier Worthy, who they traded up for, and we're still drafting him in the 50s and 60s, which I think is smart. However, there have been nobody in the fantasy community is really taking a stake on this offense or on a player that they think is going to excel other than Travis Kelce. Well, I find interesting.
It's just really hard. It's really hard to pick a guy, and that's not always how it works out. There's not maybe all three guys are like good and they're startable for fantasy, but none of them, because it's kind of like the Cooper Kupp thing where I find it a little hard to believe that we're going to have three Chiefs players in between like wide receiver 35 and 45. That's kind of how they're all being ranked right now. But maybe it's like three Chiefs guys between wide receiver 28 and 48, like make that range a little bit wider. But it's like every guy has his pros and cons. Hollywood Brown is the most proven in the NFL. He can win on all three levels. He is very good down the field in the deep passing game, which it seems like deep passing is going to be back for KC this year after a career low 6.8 ADOT for Mahomes last year, basically by a full yard, lowest of his career. You have Rashee Rice, who was, this is going to be a funny thing to say, but the best rookie receiver in Chiefs history, Rashee Rice. Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl if Rashee Rice can't be ready to be good as a rookie last year. And that, before the season, we were pretty dismissive of Rashee Rice like entering training camp because it's like rookie receivers just don't do it with Andy Reid. It takes some time. Like look at Sky Moore. Now look at Sky Moore, but that's another conversation. But like that was the conversation. And this dude had a really good season last year. But can he do more in this offense? Can he win more down the field? Doesn't have to be like straight pop shot, vertical shots, but can he just win like on deep intermediate stuff? Like that's how he made his money in college. We'll see if that translates to year 2 and he gets his route tree expanded, because he's not going to have to be force fed like he was last season. They're not going to have to do that, injuries aside, of course. And then you have Xavier Worthy, who, again, you said pretty much everything they traded up for. Fastest guy in NFL history, but not just a speed guy. He's a very good route runner. He's got nuance to his game. He can go win at the catch point. Like he's a guy more in the ilk of Zay Flowers than McCole Hardman, who can go up and play bigger than he is and win and play through contact and all those things. You're going to see low lights like you did today of him getting completely destroyed by Joshua Williams, a very big and good cornerback, mind you. Like he's the size of T. Higgins almost.
Hey, mind you, they were hitting him before the snap. That's illegal in the NFL. That's a flag, sir.
My guess is they were told, hey, you're going to just press coverage Xavier Worthy all day today and make his life miserable. Let's see how he responds to that. That's probably what was going on today. So, like, I think Rashee Rice is the safest. I think Hollywood Brown.
That's so funny. The guy that might
I
get
know.
suspended.
Like, if he plays the whole season, which right now it feels like we're trending more toward a 2025 suspension. But of course, the Willie Gay situation taught us that it could happen at any point in 2024 still. Like, it could. So on the field, he's the safest. That's a great point. I'm glad you said, though. Off the field, it's like, are we going to have him every week of the season? Obviously, health pending. And then Xavier Worthy is like, probably the highest upside, but probably the lowest floor. Then Hollywood Brown is, I think, the best combination of ceiling and floor. But also, he's had injuries the last couple of years. So, like, all these guys have warts. All these guys have big upside. And it just makes it really hard to determine what to do in Kansas City. And I think the consensus is Hollywood, Rasheed, and Worthy, probably in that order. I think I'd probably agree.
It's wide receiver 32 for Brown, 37 for Rasheed, 38 for Worthy.
Wow, so Rasheed and Worthy have both moved up a little bit since last I looked. And the thing I'll say for Hollywood Brown, he is proven. He's done it on multiple teams, but this is also a guy who I don't know if we've been able to see the best of him because of the situations he's been in. That sounds weird to say because he's played with a great quarterback in Lamar Jackson and a good quarterback in Kyler Murray. But this is a good stat for Ian Hartitz. Here's the catchable deep ball rate since 2019 for Hollywood Brown's teams. The Ravens are 31st at 41.5%. The Cardinals are 15th, so right about league average, 47%. And then the Chiefs are 7th at 49%. So this is going to be obviously the best situation from a quarterback perspective, but just also probably fit perspective for Hollywood. So, like, all these guys are kind of mystery boxes in their own right, and it makes it really hard to know what to do with them. But if you get it right, like, there is obviously potential for mega boom here for fantasy if you get it right, or if one of them gets hurt. And, outside of Xavier Worthy, who maybe it turns out he's just a rookie and he's not ready, although everything the Chiefs are saying, it's like it's a lot different than usual, where it's more of, hey, there's no time for him to be eased in. He's got to get thrown in the fire. That's all of the talk coming from the Chiefs right now for him. But, like, there's every chance that we have all three of these guys be perfectly fine for where they're drafted. Like, Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown on a points per game basis are both top 40 receivers in 2022. So and those guys are not as good as any of these guys. So it is possible that all three of these guys live up to price, and it's possible that one or two drastically exceed their price.
Yeah, what if this offense goes nuclear?
Which, like, that they could. Like, I really want to rank Mahomes 1 at quarterback. I still might make that switch because we might get a nuclear Chiefs offense this year, which we have not had, really for a couple years now.
Yeah, well, and I mean, again, it's training camp. It's been a consistent theme that every time Worthy's there, they're throwing it deep just to see what they can do. It's nice that we don't have to think about Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore.
I mean, Kadarius Toney getting a lot of playing time before he got hurt, which we don't know what the injury even is. But
that is true. At the end of the day, I do think the safest bet is Rasheed Rice, and then the best, like, moderate outcome is Hollywood Brown. But there's just a real case to be made that, like, Xavier Worthy, looking at his collegiate production, he had a lot of those identifiers that the stats community likes. He had a very early breakout. He broke out his rookie or his freshman year at Texas. He had an average separation of 3.54, which was first in last year's class, which says a lot considering who was in that class. And some of the problems with him, like, he led the draft class in the highest off-target throw rate at 22.4%. The next closest was at 17.9. If you go back,
who was it? Was it Adonai Mitchell? Was it both the Texas guys?
But I was going to say it very well could be AD Mitchell, because that offense did that a lot. And I mean, the biggest question is how he holds up to physicality in the NFL.
Yeah.
Biggest question with Rasheed Rice is does he get suspended? And the biggest question for Hollywood Brown is how much do they want to feature him if it becomes close between Hollywood and Worthy, knowing Hollywood Brown's on a 1-year contract and Worthy's not. Like,
yeah, and if Hollywood plays well, he's going to price himself out of KC most likely.
Exactly. So end of the day is to say that this offense has so many weapons. Mahomes should probably be taken higher where you have the opportunity to. And Travis Kelce is going to get a lot of favorable matchup because
He's
this
just gonna have
offense,
room. He's gonna have room to breathe again.
yeah, this offense can trot out 11 personnel as much as they want now and do it successfully. And we haven't even mentioned, like, I know this is like a deep find, but Nico Remigio last year before he got injured was somebody that this staff was like very, very hopeful about being a good player. And you still
Well,
have just
Justin Watson. Yep, but we both decide. Okay, we've gone too long. We got to at least mention Justin Watson exists.
and he's not going to be a fantasy important player, but he does do a lot of things that Kansas City wants him to do, and he does them just well enough that he can be a thorn in the side. That there's also a world where the Chiefs do decide to rotate a lot of their receivers outside of probably Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, where Xavier Worthy becomes not a total non-factor his rookie season.
Yeah, and it's like, can those three guys do enough on the outside to where Justin Watson does not need to be kind of the sacrificial X, like the Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the Romeo Dubs is better than these guys, but like that's kind of the Romeo Dubs role in the Green Bay offense. Just throw him on the outside and he produces.
The wind sprinter.
Yeah. And then the last thing with the Chiefs, just you talking about under the radar guys, he is not going to be a fantasy factor this year, but I'm kind of getting excited about Jared Wiley for the Chiefs.
He made Drew Tranquil mad when he had a one-handed catch down the sideline.
Yeah.
And he looks to be the new heir apparent to Travis Kelce in that role. He'll never be Travis Kelce, but he could be a good to productive tight end. But
and why he's important, I think, is that they can play 12 personnel. They can go 13, do more of the heavy sets, but like they did when Jody Fortson was there. Obviously, Noah Gray being that third guy, and they were unbelievable out of those sets.
And that muddies the water more for fantasy.
Yeah.
Because if they can run any set, which we've said now almost every personnel grouping you can, if they can do those successfully and they run out different personnel sets week to week or even game to game and drive to drive, it's going to be very frustrating outcomes for everybody but like two players on this Chiefs team. And then Isaiah Pacheco will eat no matter what.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where we're just not going to know until the games start, because while the Chiefs do play their starters more than a lot of teams in the preseason, it is as vanilla as can be. So you're not going to actually learn anything about scheme, maybe a little bit about preference, but you're going to see, like, I remember one year, I think it was last year, where they took a deep shot to Sky Moore, and it was just for no other reason because, like, we just want to see Sky, like, we want to see what that looks like. So, like, there's going to be a lot of that. You're not going to be able to learn too much from the preseason, but the receiver situation in KC is one of the most important, if not the most important, situations to look at for fantasy, because I do think, like you said, there is potential for this offense to go nuclear, and you want to have those guys if they do, and you want to have the right guys.
Yeah, and I think having any of them coming out of a draft, you can feel pretty confident.
Yeah,
you're going to have some good shares in this offense.